Hello and welcome to this 30-minute yin practice that is all about your hips and lower back. So the idea is that we will release all of the common areas that can kind of cause tension around your lower back, and we'll get your lower back, your lumbar spine moving. So for your practice, have some kind of cushions, pillows, yoga blocks, bolsters, any of the above will work for support in some of your poses. And we'll get started in a closed knees child's pose. So with your knees together and feet together, sit back onto your heels and then bring your forehead to the ground in front of you and your arms by your sides. Now you might find that that feels a bit much right away, so you could use a cushion underneath your forehead. You could also use cushions or pillows between your heels and your sitting bones, and you could also use it underneath your forehead there as well. So up to you how you set this up so that you can soften. So once you've created your shape, just soften into it, seal your lips, and start to breathe more deeply in and out through your nose. Really sending your breath low into your belly so you can feel your abdomen pressing towards your thighs with each inhale, and then softening with each exhale. And right away here, you may find you feel a bit of a stretch through your lower back. And whether or not you feel that, just bring a little bit of attention into your lower back. And breathing into your belly may help you find that focus. It may also help you find a little bit more of a stretch, a little bit more space around your lower back. A few more steady breaths here. Okay, so reach your arms forward and come up to a tabletop position onto your hands and knees. Now here, we'll work with some movement of your pelvis, tilting of your pelvis with the idea that it will move your lumbar spine, your lower back. So start by tilting your tailbone way up towards the ceiling and really work to find how far you can go. And then very gently tilt your pelvis the other way so your tailbone tilts down, and you may find a bit of a stretch in your lower back here. And again, move in the other direction, so tailbone up. And really pause at the end there as you squeeze in through the front of your hips. So it's strength in the front of your hips that creates that tilting of your pelvis. And tilt the other way, so tailbone down. Draw your abdomen in, really pull your lower belly in, and that's to help stretch through your lower back. One more in each direction, so tailbone up. And this movement around your lumbar spine, really super important. Loosening up those joints in your lower vertebrae is really important for releasing tension around your lower back. And then come to a neutral spine. Step your left foot forward between your hands and we'll come into a lunge. So in this lunge, have your left knee about above your left ankle as you soften your hips down towards the ground. You may find it's a bit better with your right leg a little further to the right. And just shuffle around till you find the best position. Now, blocks underneath your hands can be really great props in this pose. You could also use cushions there if that feels better. And the first part is just to allow the front of your hips to soften down towards the ground. And breathe. Now, if you're feeling enough right here, so you feel it in the front of your right hip and it's enough, you can stay. Option to lift your upper body a little bit higher. So you can bring blocks with you if you have them, or you can walk your hands up to the top of your left thigh. And once you're here, this is going to create more of a stretch through the front of your right hip. You can even lean back a little bit and lift your chest up, and that also helps to lengthen up through your torso and create more stretch in the front of your hip. So wherever you are is perfect. Not a whole lot longer in this pose, so stay with it, really breathe, lengthen out your exhales. Okay, if you're upright, lean forward, bring your hands back to the ground, move your blocks out of the way, and then press into your hands and rock your hips back a little bit until you extend your left leg. You're getting a bit of a stretch through your left hamstrings here. So just bow towards your left leg. Totally fine for this leg to still be a bit bent. As long as you feel something through the back of your thigh, you're in the right position. So a few steady breaths here. You can move your head around. And here as well, you could have your hands on blocks or on cushions for a bit of extra support. Soften your jaw, soften the space between your eyebrows. Okay, bend your left knee and lean forward and come into your tabletop position on your hands and knees. Couple of times, move again through this tilting of your pelvis. So tailbone up. Now, you may notice this is very much like cat and cow in your spine, but we're really focusing on the movement in your lower back. So if you want to get the rest of your spine involved in the movement, feel free to do so. Just make sure you're really focusing on leading the movement with your pelvis. And then pause at neutral. Bring your right knee to your right wrist. We'll come into a pigeon. Swing your right shin inwards and then slide your left leg back behind you. You may like to stay lifted here. So this is a proud pigeon. Alternatively, you can walk your arms forward and rest your forehead down. You could use a cushion underneath your chest or underneath your head or both. You can also use a cushion or block underneath your right hip. So if your right hip really hovers high away from the ground, super good idea to place something underneath it so your body knows there's something there to catch you. And that can really help your body to release a little bit more because it understands there's safety there. So once you're set up, just settle in and make sure you're breathing. Okay, walk your hands back up underneath your shoulders. And then we'll come back to a tabletop position. So you might like to sneak your back leg in a little bit and come back onto your hands and knees. And move your hips around a little bit here. It might feel nice to make some semicircles, kind of swaying down and back and to the sides. And then pause in your tabletop. And again, move through a couple rounds of arching and rounding of your lower back. So you can, again, create the full cat-cow as long as you are really focusing on the movement of your pelvis. And pause at neutral. Step your right foot forward. We'll come into the lunge. So right knee above your right ankle as you soften your hips down and forward. And again, remember you can use blocks underneath your hands or cushions underneath your hands just to help prop yourself to be in a good position, something that feels as comfortable as possible, we'll say. So first part of the hold here is just allowing your hips to soften down towards the ground, beginning to create some length and space through the front of your left hip. So if you're feeling enough right here, perfect. You can stay just as you are. If you'd like to come further upright, then you can walk your hands to the top of your right thigh, or you could flip your blocks up an extra level and walk them back a little bit. Also, an option here is to lean back and lift your chest up a little more. So wherever you are, be sure you're breathing. Be sure you can breathe. Soften your jaw. About 5 more steady breaths here. Okay, if you're upright, slowly, gently bring yourself back down. So your hands come on either side of your right foot. And then use your hands pressing down to help shift your hips back. Slowly, slowly, especially if it feels a bit creaky coming out of that pose, please take your time. Move into this half split shape to target into your right hamstrings, back of your right thigh. And remember, you can have a bend in that knee. You can lean onto blocks. The main thing that you want to avoid is locking out that knee and then having your hands just hover and you're just kind of leaning forward. Your body's not going to be super happy in that position. So if this is happening, bend your knees so that you can bring your hands down, and then think of pulling your chest forward, and that is going to help you create more stretch through the back of your right leg. And soften around your neck and your shoulders. Soften your jaw. Okay, gently bend your right knee and come forward into your tabletop position. So bring your right foot back so you're back onto your hands and knees. And again, move through a few tilts of your pelvis in each direction. Really notice how it feels. So this movement at your lumbar spine is so key for the health of your lower back. All these joints love to move. Your joints love to move. That's what they're designed to do. So this tilting of your pelvis, really great to get your lumbar spine loosened up and feeling a bit happier. Okay, pause in your tabletop. Bring your left knee forward to come into your pigeon. Swing your left shin inwards and then slide your right leg back. So remember, if your hip is hovering high above the ground, get a block underneath it. Give yourself support. You can stay lifted here or you can come forward. You can lean onto cushions, blocks, a bolster, anything that gives you support and allows you to soften into the position. And then soften around your neck and your shoulders. Stay with your breath. Okay, walk your hands back up under your shoulders and come back to your tabletop position. Take all the time you need getting there. And then shift your hips around a little bit and just allow them to kind of come back to this more neutral position. And then once again here, move through a few rounds of tilting your pelvis in each direction. And really make sure that you're working for the largest range of motion that you can here. So when you get to what you think is as far as you can go, try pulling your abdomen in even more. And then in the other direction, when you think you can't go further, try tilting your tailbone up even more. And you might really feel the muscles in your lower back work hard there. And that is the idea. By moving your lower back, you're also strengthening it because you're using the muscles that move it and creating that strength. And that's why it's super important to get it moving. Okay. Pause that. Sit your hips to one side. Come into a seat. We'll come to a wide-legged forward fold here. So targeting into your inner thighs, into your groin. As you come into this seat, notice what happens if you relax here. If you feel like you're going to fall backwards, then use a block or a cushion or a couple of pillows underneath your sitting bones. And that's going to help you feel like you can lean forward a bit. You could also use blocks or cushions underneath your knees so that you can really target into your groin leaning forward. However it is that you feel a stretch in your inner thighs, you're in the right place. So you may stay seated upright. You might lean forward just slightly. And once you get some lengthening through your inner thighs, then that's your pose. So pause and breathe. About 3 more steady breaths here. Okay, gently make your way back up to seated. Use your hands to help move your legs so that you can bring your feet wide. Rest your knees together and lean back onto your hands. Just move your props out of the way so that you can make space for that. It may feel nice to turn your head a little side to side. You could also press your chest up towards the ceiling for a moment. And take a couple gentle windshield wipers side to side with your knees. And then bring the soles of your feet onto your mat, about hip distance apart. Reach your arms in front of you, make fists with your hands and round your back. So really go for this strong rounding of your spine. And then little by little, roll yourself down to lay onto your back. So this is again creating strength around your lower back, strength through the front of your torso to support your lower back. So really have this goal of coming down one vertebra at a time, getting this movement through every part of your spine. And lay yourself down little by little, so the last thing to land will be your head. And once you're there, just feet to the floor, shift your hips a bit to the right, then bring your knees towards you and drop your knees to the left. We'll finish off with a short twist here. So just allow your knees to drop to the side. You can look over your right shoulder. You could look straight up towards the ceiling. All good either way there with your neck. And then some nice steady breath into your belly. Soften on your exhales. And gently make your way back to center out of your twist. And we'll just switch sides on that twist. So shift your hips a bit to the left, knees in towards you, and then over to the right. Shuffle around as you need to set up in the pose. You can look over your left shoulder or up towards the ceiling. Nice steady breath into your belly. And gently make your way back to center out of your twist. And bring your knees towards you. Give yourself a nice big hug, big squeeze. And then just land with your feet together, your knees wide, and lift your arms up overhead. A couple of really big breaths here. So take a deep breath in through your nose. Through your mouth, exhale. One more time like that. Breathe in, fill up. Sigh it out. And gently slide your legs long and come into your Shavasana. You could keep your arms overhead if you like, or bring your arms by your sides. Settle in so you feel good, so you can soften. Just for your first couple of moments here, bring some awareness to your lower back. And enjoy your Shavasana. I'll leave you here so you can take as long as you like in your Shavasana. When you do move out of this pose, just remember to do so quietly and with awareness, maybe with a little bit of extra awareness around your lower back and hips today. Thank you so much for choosing to step onto your mat. Have a gorgeous rest of your day. Namaste.